let's get started. Want to make some introductions really quick. First, we have Brandon Stanton, the creator of Humans of New York. He's the guy today. I'm really excited to have you here, Brandon. We have Andrea Trabucco-Campos, a partner at Pentagram, and out of order, David Korins from Korins Studio. He's the principal and founder. And then Mary John. She is our partner at the MTA. She handles all the licensing and advertising for the MTA. So really excited to be here. And we really want to dive into Dear New York and how they have transformed Grand Central into the largest New York City art installation that the city has seen in decades. To get started, Brandon, for those who may not know the full story, can you give us a brief history of Humans of New York?
Humans of New York, so started 15 years ago, and essentially, if I was to explain it in the smallest amount of words as possible, over the past 15 years, I've stopped thousands of people on the streets of New York City, but also all around the world, and typically the art is that in a very short amount of time, I try to create a zone of comfort on the street where I can take an authentic and honest portrait of the person, both in words and photos, and so I have gotten a collection of about 10,000 New Yorkers through that process.
So it started as a photography project.
Yes.
What made you want to stop and really listen and learn about people in New York? Was it New York? Was it the people? Or just your pure interest?
I mean, I was 26 years old. I was just trying to be a famous artist, I think. I moved to New York, and I just wanted to try to figure out, this was even before social media, I think, which is an interesting aspect of Humans of New York because it's all known on social media. But at the time, I was just trying to make just enough money to photograph all day long, and I was trying anything that would work. And then I started photographing people, and I was asking people for their photograph over and over and over again. I did that for months and months and had thousands and thousands of photos. And then I just, started including little quotes. And then I found out that people were much more interested. That's been a lesson that I've learned, is that people are much more interested in the people that I photographed than me. So I just started kind of disappearing and just diving into what the other person was saying. And then the more I was able to learn about these people and the better I was able to express it, the more Humans of New York caught on, until here we are 15 years later, where I'm kind of I posted a photo of myself on the blog yesterday for maybe the second time in 15 years. I find that my work does better the more that I disappear. But I think that's beautiful though too. It's kind of a spiritual thing to me. I try to be a channel as opposed to the source.
Can you tell one story that really resonates with you and made you want to continue this project of humanity?
That's a hard one. It's always different times of life, and I think that's why Humans of New York works so well. Like, for example, we're going to be talking about Grand Central later, and it's just covered with hundreds of stories and portraits right now. And I knew that all 750,000 people that passed through were not going to connect with every single one at the wall. But the thing is it hits people at a time in a season of their life where another person's experiences connects with theirs in a very deep way. So for me, right now it's the parenting ones. I've got 3 kids. When I was younger, it was the angst of trying to figure out purpose and direction in your life. The ones I connect to tend to evolve as I evolve.
So let's talk about Dear New York. Grand Central Terminal has been, I know we're advertising week, so sounds a little silly, but it's amazing. You have stripped Grand Central Terminal of all commercial advertising space, and it's a living art gallery, if you will. How do you even begin to think about putting this into motion? This could be for you, Brandon, or some of the other, Andrea or David, whoever wants to take that first.
Yeah. Well, I'll start it and then hand it off. It started with just me trying to figure out how to do something special in the subway system, and I'll kind of speak to it from an advertising perspective. Like a lot of what you guys think about is I wanted to do something special artistically, but I also wanted people to pay attention to it. And so I started, my book deals with Grand Central Station as kind of the epicenter of the diversity of the entire world. The entire world is in New York City. And where is the most diverse place in New York City? I found it's a 7 train pulling into Grand Central Station. And so I went to Grand Central Station station. I said, what can I do special here? In my conversations, I actually started with OUTFRONT because it ended up being a station-wide takeover, but and takeover not in an advertising term, as in like actually. But like I started out in the subway system. I was watching all these people walk by, and there's advertising everywhere, and they weren't looking at it. Like they were so accustomed to it. They were just moving forward. They were put, on their phones. And I was like, if I wanted to do something here using the advertising space, there's only going to be one way to get people's attention. And that is if the entire thing feels like one thing, just absolutely feels unified and it's all saying one thing. And then that started the journey of how much of Grand Central can I pull together into one thing? And then if I can get it into one thing, how do I use that platform? And again, it's like connection, beauty, solace. Like how do I use it to impact people? First person who reached out from the darkness and really, said, this is a beautiful idea and I want to help you make it wonderful, was David. So, I'm sorry.
No,
you guys are both wearing black, aren't you? So I'll let David speak to what interested him about it, and then we'll move on to Andrea, who came in a massive way in the next stage. Yeah.
You want me to talk about what I found interesting?
You've designed and done so many amazing things. We won't go into your resume, but everybody, David is incredible. But how do you design for something or think about something when you want people to stop and notice and feel all those senses?
Well, we're all here because Brandon
Yes.
had this really, I think, incredible and pure idea. How do we, with respect to advertising, unplug every single advertisement in the most populous, most diverse, and most dynamic space in the country, maybe the world, and how do we plug in humanity and empathy? And the only way to do that was to move through the space three-dimensionally, and I thought it was so compelling that Brandon's work had only existed in two dimensions up until this point. And whether it was on Instagram or in books or in photos and words, and to have people move through the space in an 24/7, always changing, completely dynamic way. That's what I do for a living. I make experiences, and so to kind of bolt on to this incredible idea was a no-brainer for me. And then to do it, in our home city, I feel like we are only as good as the health of our cities and the way in which we're kind of seeing the world. And this, I felt, was like such an altruistic, beautiful idea. To me, how you get them to stop is by, you don't have to, right? Some people are having individual experiences and reading every single word and seeing every single picture, and some people are moving through it and letting it wash over them like a meditation. And sometimes you make something for the single, and sometimes you make it for the total community, and this is working on all those levels. It's really pretty incredible.
Incredible. Mary, you are a partner at the MTA, and you work closely with Brandon. We're always looking for more artists and advertisers, if you will, to do in real life experiences. Talk a little bit about the partnership with Brandon and his team and how we can make this more special for other advertisers in the transit advertising space.
Yeah, thank you, Ginger. The MTA serves millions of people every single day. And most of us think about the MTA as our ride to work. But in the context of this discussion, the system that we have here is the most visible canvas for artists and for advertisers in the city. And so when someone like Brandon comes to us with this really unique and imaginative and non-standard proposal, we have to rely on partners like OUTFRONT, who know our system almost as well as we know it ourselves, sometimes maybe even better, and have this amazing production capability to actually execute on something like this that has never been done before. And so this kind of really imaginative idea and the production capability and the execution capability of OUTFRONT make these things possible in our system. And I would say that something like this has the support at the highest levels of the MTA. Our advertising program is an incredible revenue generator for our organization. And if you think about the MTA, we always need money. So these are very, very important for us. But the surprise and delight moments, these immersive, interactive moments in our system, also contribute to the customer experience of our riders. And so as we kind of look forward, Brandon and this team has unleashed something, that we can build upon. It's so unique and incredible, and I would expect to see more unique, innovative, interactive elements in the system. So I'll leave you all with a challenge. Bring us your wildest ideas, and let's see if we can make it happen with our partner OUTFRONT.
Andrea, do you want to?
Yeah. So oh no, I'm very excited to talk about Andrea. So we about halfway through this, I ran out of every kind of capacity. The most amazing things about Dear New York is this wasn't the Gates, which was done over 25 years. This came together in 6 months. It was much more of a full sprint for the entire time, and so many things had to happen miraculously. And one thing was meeting Andrea through my friend Paul, partner at Pentagram, and I sat down with him, and he immediately got it. And I still had one thing, which was probably arguably the most important thing that had to be done. And it's so funny because it's enough to just be the discussion. It was OUTFRONT section. It was the subway section, and it's like it was 25% of what I had to worry about, but it was like the most massive one. And it would take untold hundreds of thousands of dollars to design that outside of the custom templates that OUTFRONT provides, which are good in itself. But we wanted to do all of this custom vinyl anyway. And I don't know if he regrets this decision. This man naively said, "Yes, I will do it." And I will now let you talk about your journey taking the football. And he was last night. One of the reasons he came in right under the wire late last night. He was down there with the installation team. So you can go ahead and talk about
We've known Brandon's work for a very long time, and we admire the way that, I've admired the way that you've documented the city. And when the conversation started, it was really framed as a gift back to the city, almost a mirror that could be held back to every single one of us who lives here and has experiences. And so, to me, it started that way, and then the idea of doing sort of this, as you had framed it, the largest takeover of the subway that has ever been done. And Brandon has this way of speaking that is aggrandizing, and it's amazing because it inspires you to really believe in the things that we're doing. So I jumped on this, and with my team, we started mapping the entirety of the subway. And I think, credit to MTA, OUTFRONT, we really sort of, in order to make this totalizing and truly immersive, you actually have to go outside of the bounds of the framed sort of ads. And we had to understand how the tile system works, and then map how sort of vinyl could be wrapped around corners, how we could go outside and inside, what areas we couldn't go into. And I would say all of that is definitely sort of a challenge, but the real challenge is designing for a space that's not meant as a gallery. So it's a public art installation, and you don't have an entry point or an exit point. Everyone can enter and exit the train wherever they want, and it really sort of necessitates thinking about that in a very different way. So the way we sort of plan the space, and I hope you get to go to it, is thinking about sort of the individual stories in a sequence that could be accessed by any point. And the magic that I think you allowed us to kind of play with is not only the photography, which was our starting point as a conversation, but the words and the stories that Brandon kind of has brought to light through those photographs. I would say that one of your biggest skills is actually having a conversation and allowing people to be comfortable enough to A, sit in front of the camera, but B, tell you a piece of their life. And those pieces are all throughout. So even just yesterday when we were installing it, we started at 8 a.m. and at 2 a.m. we were leaving. The people that were stopping in front of these canvases and the stories and just interacting with them, the sort of sound bites that were coming out of them, it was phenomenal. and even just as we were installing it. So I'm really excited when we, this morning we're completing the entire thing, and it's going to be just something to kind of keep track of how people are interacting with the space and see how it really can sort of transform from a space that is just a thoroughway to a space where you're kind of taking in other people's stories.
So I'm going to love on everybody a little bit here and talk about everybody's roles as I kind of see it. Like, first of all, I mean, what you're going to see if you go see the subway in Grand Central is innovative in so many different ways. And one of the reasons it's innovative is because the MTA's agility and how nimble they were and how embracing they were. I always say to make this work, and it was the most stressful 6 months of my life because I needed 1,000 yeses and one no could have made it fall apart at any time. There are multiple different layers of bureaucracy and organization that protect Grand Central Station. There's OUTFRONT, who has their own systems. There's Metro North Railroad, there's MTA, and then there's the big boss, which is the State Historical Protection Office, whose only job is to not raise revenue, it's not to do art, it's to protect the building. And they say no a lot. And so in order for this to happen, so many people had to say yes to things that they never say yes again. And when you walk through the subways, you won't just find sanitized, Disney-fied quotes. You will find real New York. It's nothing offensive, nothing obscene, but I mean, these are provocative quotes. These are things that will make you think. And that was the MTA saying, you know what, we want to show real New York because we think that will be absolutely beautiful for this city. And to speak to Andrea's role, yes, when I first started conceiving this, it was, to me, it's like I had this portfolio of 10,000 New Yorkers. I thought, and you can see this in certain areas in the, we call it the column jungle. Right when you enter, we have euphemisms for every section of that subway. But like right when you enter, you'll see all of these columns, and it's just nothing but faces of people. It turned out really great. And it was like, yeah, it's one of like the most interesting spaces, like visually. And I was kind of thinking that would be the entire subway, because I didn't think people would actually stop and read. And it was, Andrea says, like, no, we need to make text part of the experience and not like you need to walk up to and read, but short enough quotes and big enough quotes so that those are able to be absorbed as easily as the visuals. And I had one of those moments yesterday too. Because remember, this all started in the shuttle hallway with me watching thousands of people stream by all of these ads and just like, and it's just like, how do you get these people's attention? And watching these heads go back and forth, and I saw this 80-year-old Puerto Rican man, and like, I do a lot of interviews in Washington Heights, and when I approach somebody like that, there's, a very, very high chance that English is not their first language, and they don't, and he was kind of like stopping, and he stopped in front of this big shirtless guy, and the quote was, it's a big butch guy, and he's like, I'm basically a big butch lesbian. It says, I've hosted lesbian parties for years, and let me tell you, they adore me. It was like, and this is like 9 feet tall. Like, thank you, MTA. And so this man was like, he was walking, he had a cane, and this is like, I was so stressed yesterday, and this is like one of my like big moments, and he kind of turned, and he looked at it, and he goes up and down, and he goes, huh. And then he kept walking. I was like, oh, it worked! It worked! It worked! And and then go ahead.
No, I wanted to talk a little bit have you talk a little bit about what's going on at Vanderbilt Hall.
Yeah, David.
Yes.
And so David, I mean, he underplayed himself a little bit. It's just like when he sat me down and he was just like, first of all, he's the first person I heard the word projection from. Like I wasn't even thinking at that time. I just gotten the entire subway together, and we were talking about doing Vanderbilt Hall, and he's like, I don't know how much money you have left, because I was telling him I was running out of money, but like I might almost want to like save your money so we can like create. You need one big moment. And I didn't even know the main concourse was available at that time. Then I started Googling like projection. I found out they did like some small shows, after dark. We have never 22 hours of complete main concourse immersion for 2 weeks straight. But that kind of started me on that journey. So like so much of his fingerprints are on, creating these big moments. You always talked about moving from compressed areas into big space, and that's what the main concourse accomplishes. But what I think will be my favorite contribution is what you're seeing on the screen right now. This man did in Vanderbilt Hall with that design, like when you walk in there, so what that room is, oh, it's so freaking special. It was sourced through 2 different open calls to photographers. One was to professional photographers. Out of 2,000 submissions, we chose 10 professional photographers documenting their own community. They are in that inner donut that you're seeing, we call it the donut, that inner geometric shape. And on the outside is a perimeter wall with room for 300 kids. We did this in partnership with New York City Public Schools that submitted, they photographed and wrote about somebody in their lives that made an impact. And it's every single age. And the beauty of having those kids be treated with the same dignity and professional museum quality framing as those professional artists, honoring people they love. Another huge moment yesterday for me. I mean, I get emotional even thinking about it. I was so stressed yesterday, and I was sitting in Vanderbilt Hall, and I saw the first kid come and find his photo. It was so adorable, and he was with his mom, and he saw it, and it was about his mom, and that's what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to create these moments. Like, I wanted to create these moments of connection, and he was with his little sister, and they were so happy, and they found their photo, and they were just all so glowing. And just to think, and one thing that we did, David did, is we had 300 spaces on the wall, and we got 600 submissions, and we just could not decide between them, because like, how do you choose between like a 3-year-old? I mean, a 3-year-old's photo is not going to be great, but it's beautiful, you know what I mean? And so David had the idea we put 28 digital frames, beautifully, another word I'll always remember from David, embroidered into the world. He said these digital frames need to be embroidered into the world. And so they are nestled into the thing. Each one has 10 kids. So we were able to get all 600 kids on that wall. And each one of them is going to get a framed photo sent back to them at the end so they can give it to the person that they photographed. It is such a special room. And that's the David Korins difference right there.
Before we go to questions, what do you want people to remember when they go see Dear New York?
750,000 people, 750,000 different things. I just want everybody going through it to have a moment. You know, you might walk by 100 different stories that you don't look, and then you see somebody who might remind you of your mother and who died last week. And, you know, she's wearing a similar bracelet or, you know, and then the quote happens to talk about something that reminds you of a conversation you had with her, you know, and it's just like, that's what Humans of New York is. It's not for everything's not for everybody. But if you sit with Humans of New York long enough, no matter how much, whether you're a fan or not, you will have to admit there is something that will come across that feed that will speak directly to your life in a transformative way. And I hope that Grand Central for the next 2 weeks creates a very similar experience, that there will be something that each person will take away that will change the trajectory of their life, even a micromillimeter, in a way that improves their life here on Earth.
Amazing. David, Andrea, anything to add?
What do I want people to feel?
Yes.
You know, just because we're talking to a bunch of people who work in advertising, I feel like advertising asks the question, is this for me? Could this be for me? And I want people to feel like Dear New York is unequivocally for them, right? We made this, as Andrea said, this is from New York for New York. And I think it's interesting, kind of ironic, that the words OUTFRONT, MTA, Billboard, all of those things will be said more in the next 2 weeks than probably over their entire lifetime because of a thing that's not an advertisement. And so, you know, this is not a plug for experiential, but I will say that I've never seen someone see an ad and say, oh my God, you have to go see this ad. But I over and over and over again, over my 30-year career, have seen tens of millions of people leave experiences and live events saying, you got to go see this thing. Because this is proving that that space can be repurposed in a different way, and I want them to know it's for them.
Andrea?
I think that was a beautiful closing. So.
It is beautiful. I was there on Sunday night, and I was talking to David earlier this morning. It is amazing. It's beautiful. And I loved watching everybody just light up when those projections went up in the main concourse, something they haven't seen before. Humans in New York is, Dear New York is what we need in a time where there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world. So I encourage you all to go out over the next 2 weeks and take a look. I can believe everyone's stopping and watching. I saw you in the subway a couple of times yesterday. I was over making sure things were going smoothly, and just watching people stop and interact. I love that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for everything you've done for humanity.
I made OUTFRONT. They sent me. I said I want to put you guys all on the credit wall, and they sent me their little OUTFRONT like executive titles like SVP, and I like changed them all. You were key consultant, and Adam Kiviat was installation master. His nickname was Dom Jonky. So I gave like everyone like artistic nicknames because like everything, and the MTA as well. It's like everything. You know, I mean, David is much more of a Christo aficionado than I am, but I do know one thing that he said: the political negotiation was half of the art, because again, it's to like I would say 75% of my battle was securing this space in a way where I could do something special, and the other 25% was the creative lift and all of the 1,000 invisible people that I never saw that had to approve the material. There were so many people in the MTA and OUTFRONT that had to look at this, have a close call decision, and say, you know what, we think this is good for New York, we're going to let it happen. And so every single one of those people were part of the art to me. I told the insurance guy he was part of the art. I invited him to the reception. I was like, man, you got me my insurance. Please come. Like, this wouldn't have happened without you. So, you know, everybody who touched this thing is an artist in my view, and part of the art. And I'm grateful to you, Ginger. I'm grateful to you, Mary. You guys know how much I love you. I hope you are able to find some time, if you're from out of town, to really absorb and get into that station and lose yourself, because you can walk around for 30 minutes in Grand Central Station these next 2 weeks, never see the same thing twice, and be immersed in Dear New York the entire time.
Thanks, Brandon. We have time, I think, for one question. We have up here in front, I think. Oh, there we go. I was going to get Victoria.
Hi. It's more of a comment. So my name is Lily, and us four, we work at a public school district in Southern California. We love Humans of New York, and Leslie here actually started a series called Faces of CNUSD. So we're the Corona North Unified School District, and where Leslie works on feature stories highlighting staff members across the district and students, and it's in honor of Humans of New York. So thank you.
I love that. Thanks, Leslie. You know, I love stories like that. That's so cool. Thank you.
Maybe one more comment, question. Oh.
So what is this on? Okay. What advice do you have to us as humans, but also as marketers, in regards to connecting with other people, whether they're citizens or consumers?
I mean, you guys might have your own answers, but like, yeah, I've never done a spot. I mean, this is kind of a non-answer because it's not applicable, because I just think the reason Humans of New York work, I've never done a sponsored post on Humans of New York. I've made money giving speeches, and I've made money selling books. I've never taken any money to put any brand names on my work, and there was a trust gained with my audience that there was not motive. And it extends past what I post on the blog, or I call it a blog, it dates me, the storytelling platform. But it extends to the interaction that I have on the street. People ask me, how do you get people to share with you so much? Because I'm not there to plug your quote into some sort of statement about politics or advance some view I have of the world. So many journalists start that way. Oh, I want to write this article. I'm going to go get quotes that, you know, support this or do that, and kind of fit people into a framework or a statement about the world. It's when I sit in front of somebody, I have no other purpose but then to represent them and their lived experience as forcefully as possible. That extends into Dear New York. One of the biggest negotiations I had, Miles, you're in there, I love you, buddy, was with the MTA, was I don't want my name on it. I don't want my name on it. I don't want Humans of New York on it. I want this completely unbranded. In fact, there's a lot of confusion in Grand Central yesterday because you can't find out who made Dear New York anywhere. There's one little spot in Vanderbilt Hall where I have my name, but everything else is completely unbranded. I wanted this to be diffuse. I wanted it to be celebratory. I wanted it to be communal. This is a love letter from New York to New York about New York.
Thank you. And that's all, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Lena.